there's a lot of things happening in the world currently.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a lot of things that we need to touch on. I mean, I wanted to touch on this last time because Dr. Umar, he had a lot of stuff happening in the world. And I actually got to see him speak. I went
in person?
Yeah. I got to see him live to speak in person and things like that.
How much was the tickets?
It was free.
Oh. So he be talking all this King Kong consciousness. And no, I'm just joking.
No, and typically he charges, but whoever sponsored this event or whatever, they pay for it and all that stuff. And so, I went to his first, he was on the Joe Budden podcast, and he was speaking to the podcast about, his typical stuff about, the snow bunny crisis. And
is that what he calls it?
That's what he calls it. Like when there's like a black man dating a white woman, he calls him like a snow bunny. He calls it like a snow bunny crisis and things of that nature. But when I went to the event, he kind of doubled back on a lot of that stuff that he was talking about. And he had a lot of backlash from his comments, calling the snow bunny crisis. He also spoke on Eminem not being like he can't be the best at rap because he's not of the culture or so, or he can't be the great at something that he isn't like a creator of. Like hip hop is created by black people or African Americans in a sense. And so he can't be the great at something. Not to take away from his lyrical skill, but he can't be the greatest or anything like that. And so he had a lot of disparaging thoughts when it comes to that. And a lot of people were up in arms and upset about him when it comes to that. So do you all think if you don't come from a particular race or if you didn't start a particular thing that you can't be the best at it if you aren't the creator of it?
Have you seen the that I don't even know if it's a dance, but it is the where the guy he's basically like side moonwalking.
Airwalk?
Yeah. They've changed it, or someone else picked it up, but it's the pimp named Slickback dance thing. Was it pimp named Slickback? And he's like doing this little with his feet.
The gliding?
Yeah.
I know the gliding thing, but the pimp named Slickback, I don't know.
Okay. Well, that's the new part of it. But so the guy originally, who I don't remember his name, but the black guy created it, right? And then which it was popular. But then the song Pimp Named Slickback came out, and then there was this Asian dude, like from China or wherever, and he started doing it. He does it way better. Like, this dude looks like he's so precise. He looks like he's not even touching the ground. It's insane.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people do it.
Right, well, yeah, but
I've probably seen the guy that you're speaking about.
Probably. And he does tutorials on it and everything. He didn't create it, but he's better at it than the creator. So I say that to say, it doesn't matter who creates it, right? It's just about, like, the creator, of course, is should get the credit for what they created. And just like you create something, you get royalties for it. And then if somebody uses your music or they use something, then you still get credit for it as well financially. So do I think that Eminem is the greatest rapper of all time? No. But Eminem is one of my favorite rappers. And I'm not going to say he's the greatest. But I don't see how he's not in most people's top 10 of all time. I think that a lot of times people will look at some of the older rappers and they will say, oh, no, Tupac, Biggie's the greatest. Like, and I can see how you can say that, but it's like, well, were they the greatest? Like, what is greatness? And I'm not saying that they're not great, but what is greatness? You look at like someone like Twister and the speed of which he raps and the fluidity and how he can put words together, and he does it so fast. Some people consider that great. Then you have people that are lyricists, people like Jay-Z, people like Andre 3000, whatever, right?
Wayne.
They're lyricists who are...
Chris.
Luda.
Luda's one of my favorite rappers. But they say things, and the way that they connect words is very powerful. Like, some people think they're the greatest. So, like, it's hard to determine in rap what is the greatest or what the standard is, because it's changed and evolved so many times. It's really personal preference.
Well,
So-
it's 100% personal preference. I mean, there's obviously kind of two camps. You can look at it from a numbers standpoint, which still is not accurate, not across the not across the generations, or I think maybe the way that people like to look at it holistically is like cultural impact. What type of impact have you had on the culture? Maybe you only had one album and it went gold or something, but you also have an impact on a culture. Everybody knows your name, and people put you in the top 5 conversation, even though you only sold, gold record. So I think if we're looking at things like realistically, that's probably the way that we don't care about numbers, because without Google and stuff, you don't know what the numbers are. But we do know the impact. That's why you have like a Tupac and a Biggie even in the conversation, because the impact they had was so great, especially in death.
Yeah.
So this is, I think, why people have an issue with Eminem, because Eminem sold the most records. Like, he has more record sales, but he doesn't have the greatest cultural impact. I think Game used to say, but niggas ain't bumping you in the hood. Like, you know what I'm saying? You never go down the street and hear anybody bumping Eminem. You just don't. Steven is the only person that I've ever heard bumping Eminem.
I mean, back in the day, you know what I mean?
Back in the day.
Even now, I still listen to certain things, depending on feeling.
Yeah, so my thing is, I agree, Eminem is a great rapper. It's hard to put him in the top 5 because of his cultural impact. I really think he's a great rapper, but
You don't put him.
He's got to be in top 10. He's top 10.
no, he's top 10. I'm not saying that he's not in my top 5, but I can see why it's hard for people to put him in the top 5 because of his cultural impact.
I'm trying to think who would my top 5 rappers be. We already know Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne,
Jay-Z
Jay,
is up there.
Yeah, it'd be Lil Wayne, Jay, Fabulous,
Oh, he went back on him.
Jeezy, and I would probably put Eminem there. Jeezy, I'm trying to think of Luda. Sorry,
I literally was thinking Luda.
I would put Ludacris there. Luda, I'm so true to smoking that stanky Buddha. My pinky shining with diamonds, my index on a Ruger. I wet these hoes in they sleep, so just call me Freddy Krueger. The boogie man, oogie woogie, give me that ooga booga. That was my shit, man. Back in the day.
And I got a problem because I probably got to put T.I. in there somewhere.
T.I.
That's why I said top 10.
It's
Yeah,
hard.
he would be top 10.
It's hard, man. That's not easy.
He doesn't even put himself in his top 10.
Right.
Top
He has-
5.
Top 5.
Yeah.
He's M does not even put himself in his top 5. Because he's, but also, I mean, if you look at,
But
Shady
white
Records.
people typically consider him the greatest.
Well, I could see that.
Yeah.
Because,
Who do you think was buying all them albums?
Right.
well, black people bought the albums.
No.
It was mixed, but majority.
Yeah, I mean, white people are, when you have both, you're going to sell more because both people love you. Mm-hmm. If you're only appealing to black people and that's what's buying your albums, okay, that's what you're going to appeal to.
That's actually part of the reason why he wins the numbers race, because he's appealing to both. Now let's keep it a buck. Like the white children, they do like the black rappers, right? Like it's not
much more so now. I'm not saying they didn't in our day.
No, but when M comes in, it's like he's like the Michael Jordan of rap.
Yeah,
for them.
they do. Honestly, what
are you talking about? You're talking about in general or back in that time?
I would say in general, not just in that time, because it's a race thing. As much as I don't personally like to identify music with race, it is a race thing because a lot of white people, they would highlight Post Malone as like a really good rapper or like a good artist. And I'm just like, how do y'all like this guy?
We don't even have him in the conversation.
I don't see him. I mean, white people though, I know people who love Post Malone.
Yes.
And I'm just like, bro, and taking nothing against him as an artist because
because he makes good music.
And I've seen him. He's someone I can do country.
But the fact that he piggybacks a lot his music, that's already been created, white people didn't highlight any music that's already been created by like a T-Pain or Ty Dolla $ign or well, Kanye's kind of like in both worlds, but it's like they highlight the white artist and forget about the black artist who created it. So that's why I would say more white people would be more aligned to think that, you know, the white artists are, if they make some kind of splash, that they are the greatest. You know what I mean?
Some people probably got the Beastie Boys in their top 5.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, if you know, I'm sure they're a legendary group. You know, I'm not saying that for me they are, but in certain communities they are.
right.
So
Yeah. And
So that's okay.
no, go ahead.
Oh no, okay. No. Because I was gonna talk about the interracial thing.
Yeah. Because Umar, one thing I also learned when I was at that thing, which you probably already knew about, is that, man, it's kind of racist.
what do
Like,
you mean?
the undertone of their message.
Umar's community, or
Yes, but also the church, because it was in a church, and it was it was like they celebrate Kwanzaa, and they celebrate Kwanzaa, and they did a lot of down talking to like other races, and
Right.
I'm not necessarily
I don't like that.
like, I don't like it, that part doesn't resonate with me, but I also understand that I'm not like them. And so, like, while I am pro-black, I'm not anti other races.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, or not even pro-black. I just like humans and people, but I do support, you know, people of melanated descent, and I would go out of my way to do things, you know, just to make sure that I'm showing support, because a lot of times in the mainstream world they get shunned or looked upon in a certain particular way. But I don't like the separation. I do not like that separation. They did a lot of down talking when it came to black and white, or, you know, any other race. I don't like that. And there's a disparaging thought when it comes to interracial dating. Like, he called it snow bunny crisis of like black people dating white people. So when it comes to black people dating white people, what are your thoughts on that? And do you think that it's an issue for, you know, people dating outside of their race?
You know, number one, I don't like anything that is intentionally creating division.
Yeah.
So, as a general statement, you know, the government intentionally creates division, right, between us. And while I do like the, you know, the pro-black, right, you know, raise up our people, you know, yay, you know, I'm with that, but it doesn't need to be at the detriment of others.
Right.
It's the same way when you look at men and women, right? You can be a feminist, you can be pro-women without being at the detriment of men. So it doesn't matter how you want to slice this. If it is pro anything, I'm for it. Go for it, queen, right? But if it's at the detriment of the person or people that you are pro against, I'm not with it. So, you know, at this point, man, in life, I think that I've been doing a lot of, I've been watching a lot of Billy Carson recently.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that we were intended, or maybe biologically at our core, we're mixed. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not, I don't know, these pure, oh no, they can hear me, man. We're not these like pure blood beings or whatever that we think that we are. And I think that we should mix and mingle at I won't say should, but if that's your preference, I don't have a problem with it. No, obviously I say that because I have mixed children, right? So maybe I'm biased, whatever. But I mean, that's a lot of that's because that's what I grew up with, and that is what was around. That's what I saw. So of course, naturally, that's what I gravitated towards. And then as I grew older, then I started to see things differently and open my horizons to everybody, right? Well, all women, all colors and shape sizes, whatever. Most shape sizes.
There's one particular shape that stands out more than the other ones. You know what I mean?
You're a bastard.
Got a lot of Kirby's out there.
Well, there's things have changed. But I don't know, man. I personally feel as though I don't have a problem with you saying keep things in house, right? If our people are our people, I don't have a problem with that. Yeah. Okay, I don't have a problem with somebody interracially dating. I don't have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with is when it is at the detriment of others. Yeah. So now, if you want to call white girls snow bunnies, I don't care. Like, you know what I mean? They some of them love it.
Snow bunny crisis.
You know what I'm saying? I think that's hilarious personally. Funny, yeah. But I can see how maybe some white girls will find that offensive. But I just don't like the fact that it does come off racist, and it just rubs me wrong. And that could just be because of my upbringing. But in general, it's not just about black and white. I feel the same way when it comes to religion, how Christians say, well, this is the truth. And so basically saying, by you saying this is the truth, everything else is a lie. Like, how can you sit here and say that Christianity is the only thing that's true when there's thousands of religions, and a lot of these religions were here before Christianity? Like, I always as a child asked myself and others, I'm like, and no one can answer this. It's like, well, I don't understand. Like, if God loves all humans, and if Jesus was only here at a certain point, what happened to all the people that were here before Jesus? So they just all go to hell? And they always said, oh, well, God has, they're in purgatory, or there's yada, yada. I don't even know. It never made sense. The explanation never made sense. So overall, for me, when you make a stance and you take that stance, and that stance is as bringing others down, then I have a problem with it. Because at the end of the day, I think that you should stand on your own product, your own thoughts, your own whatever, and let them speak for themselves. You don't need to pull other people down or anybody else down in order to raise yourself or your people up in that way. So that's just how I feel about all of that. So,
Chris?
I think Umar, the issue is Umar. So you got to look at it from his perspective to understand his rhetoric. His perspective is the black community. Yeah. So when he says that the snow bunny crisis and stuff, what he's talking about is the leeching of our resources to other communities, and how essentially it's been happening for, half a century, and we have to stop it. And one of the biggest holes that we need to plug is through our marriages, right? You have all these wealthy men, basketball players, actors, whatever. They marry these white women, they die, all the wealth goes to their family. Right. And the justification I think he has for saying that is, when something is going on in the copper-colored community, like holistically or systemically, white people aren't going to like go in there and fix it for us. Mm-hmm. So because we live in a world where we do have these divisions, these lines of division, something we call race, then it is important for us to build. We need to build resources specifically for people that look like us. So I think that's where that rhetoric comes from. That's why he goes so hard on it, and I don't disagree with that. I obviously, and I'm not exactly sure where his stance is as far as like how he feels about somebody who will actually date someone outside their race. I know he feels strongly, whatever his thoughts are, but
he calls him a sellout and
so that's taking it too far, right? That's taking it too far. Basically, what Steven said, you don't have to tear someone down. To your emphasis should be on, look, in our community, we don't have jobs. I can't provide you a job. That's a problem. Like, how do we get to a place where we can build businesses and provide jobs for each other? Because that's literally what everybody else does. If I need a mechanic, I should automatically go to somebody that looks like me. I should automatically go to somebody that looks like me if I'm going to buy a new couch or an appliance or a car or whatever the case may be. We don't even have the businesses. So I can't even go and do that. You know, that's why there's such a big push for black-owned businesses, because it's not. So they're not just right. It's Family Dollar is not owned by a black person. QT is not owned by a black person. The like Exxon and Target, none of the places we regularly shop at are owned by people that look like us. So there does need to be an emphasis on our income, or what we're doing with our resources, and things of that nature. But like Steven said, once again, if a dude wants to date a white girl, have at it, because when we talk about race, it is a line of division, and I'm in agreement. Lines of division, I am not for at all. The greatest thing we could do as a people is to come together, have an understanding of each other, have a respect for each other, and create boundaries, but not lines of division. You know, I personally, I wouldn't say I would never date a white woman. But it's almost like, how do I overlook all of these eligible melanated women to go to a white woman? So for me, you know, it's a bit, I'd have to take a big leap over a whole bunch of, it just doesn't make sense. You know, if you live in a community where you're surrounded by white women, you're probably going to date and marry a white woman. You know what I mean? That's just the way things work. Also, I've always been of the camp, like, I like who likes me. And white women, Chinese women, whatever, East Asian, whatever. No, they've never liked me like that. So, and I don't got a problem with that, because my women like me. So I'm good. But yeah, that's pretty much it.